The courtroom was tense. Every pair of eyes locked on Kody Brown as his carefully polished image began to crumble. For years, we've seen him on Sister Wives insist on control, playing the role of the confident patriarch. But in this moment, that confidence cracked. His voice wavered, his arguments fell flat, and the weight of years of strained relationships finally seemed to crash down on him. And then came the turning point. Meri Brown, so often quiet in the background, finally stepped forward. With calm but undeniable strength, she laid bare truths that had been ignored for far too long. For once, Kody wasn't the one leading the conversation. He was the one cornered, unable to stop what was unfolding. And it didn't stop there. As Meri's words landed, the spotlight shifted to the questions surrounding Robyn. The financial dealings, the dependency, the power imbalance that had shaped so much of this family's story. Viewers who have followed the series from the beginning could feel it. This wasn't just another argument caught on camera. This was accountability, years in the making. And just when the tension was at its peak, the whispers of outside investigation added another layer of suspense. The walls around Kody and Robyn were closing in, and the other wives weren't holding back. Hi friends, I'm Sophia, and this is TLC's Sister Wives World. If you love this show as much as I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on in this battle? Because trust me, you're going to want to weigh in after hearing what went down. Today, I'm breaking down the courtroom drama piece by piece, from Meri's brave stand to Christine and Janelle's fiery testimonies, to the moment Kody completely lost control. We're going to revisit the key moments, connect them to what we've seen over the years, and look at how fans everywhere are reacting. So settle in, because this story has everything: emotion, betrayal, truth, and the kind of shock you only get when real life finally catches up with reality TV. Meri taking the stand was the moment fans had been waiting for, though many wondered if it would ever actually happen. For years on Sister Wives, we've seen her pushed to the sidelines, her voice often drowned out by Kody's dominance and Robyn's influence. She endured heartbreak, like the catfishing scandal that left her humiliated, and the slow unraveling of her marriage to Kody. Through it all, she kept quiet more often than not, almost disappearing in group settings. But in this courtroom, something was different. She wasn't the woman sitting silently while Kody controlled the narrative. She was steady, direct, and unafraid. You could almost feel the years of frustration and isolation fueling her words. What made this so powerful wasn't just what Meri said, but the way she said it. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't dart around the room. She looked directly at Kody, then at the judge, as she laid out her truth. She talked about finances, about being left out of major decisions, about how Kody and Robyn operated as if the rest of the family didn't matter. These weren't accusations pulled from nowhere. They were lived experiences, the same ones fans have been pointing out for seasons. Seeing her put it all out in the open, in front of an authority who could no longer ignore it, was a moment of vindication not just for Meri, but for viewers who had always believed she deserved better. The courtroom was silent as she described years of feeling invisible, the favoritism toward Robyn, and how she had been emotionally sidelined by the man who once claimed all his wives were equal. It was hard not to think back to those early episodes where Meri and Kody were the legal couple, when she was his first and only wife. The contrast between that beginning and this moment in court was staggering. She had gone from being his partner in everything to being almost erased, and now she was reclaiming her space. Fans online lit up after this testimony. Social media posts poured in, praising Meri's courage, with many saying it was the first time they truly felt like she stood up for herself. And it wasn't just about Kody. By putting Robyn's role under scrutiny, Meri broke the unspoken rule that had kept everyone silent for too long. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was testimony, and it hit harder than anything she had ever said in front of TLC cameras. If Meri's testimony was the spark, then Christine and Janelle stepping forward was the firestorm that followed. These two women have been through some of the most painful moments in the family, and their bond has only grown stronger over time. When they backed up Meri in court, it was no longer just one woman's story against Kody's authority. It was a united front. Christine was the first to follow Meri, and she didn't hold anything back. She reminded the court of the years she spent feeling like her marriage to Kody was little more than a shadow, that she and her children were constantly pushed aside, while Robyn and her kids became Kody's entire focus. Fans will remember Christine's raw confessions in the final seasons, where she admitted to feeling unloved and unwanted. In the courtroom, those same words landed like heavy stones. Christine has always been the emotional truth-teller of the group, and that side of her was on full display. She spoke passionately, her voice rising as she detailed the imbalance and favoritism that had destroyed her faith in plural marriage. She wasn't vague either. She described the moments where Kody openly prioritized Robyn, how decisions that affected the entire family were made behind closed doors, and how she and the other wives were expected to quietly accept it. For Christine, this wasn't just about her. It was about setting the record straight, about showing the years of dysfunction that had been brought. Then came Janelle, and her style couldn't have been more different, but it was just as impactful. Where Christine's words were fiery, Janelle's were steady and precise. She brought receipts, clear examples of financial decisions that didn't add up, records that pointed to Kody and Robyn taking resources while the other household struggled. Janelle has always been practical, the one who looked at numbers and logistics. And in court, that practical nature turned into evidence. She laid out how money was handled, how promises to the other wives were broken, and how decisions that should have been family discussions were quietly shifted to benefit Robyn's household. Together, Christine and Janelle balanced each other perfectly. One gave the emotional reality, the other backed it with hard proof. Watching them stand with Meri, you could feel the strength of their unity. For years, Sister Wives fans had watched them question each other, even clash at times, but here they were, shoulder to shoulder, presenting a version of the truth that Kody and Robyn couldn't easily dismiss. Online, fans rallied behind this trio. Comments poured in about how refreshing it was to see them united, how their courage was long overdue. Many even said it felt like justice for all the silent years when the show presented a happy family image, while the cracks beneath were widening. In that courtroom, those cracks weren't just visible, they were undeniable. Kody's turn in the courtroom was unlike anything viewers had seen before. For so long, he's been the one in control, commanding the conversations, steering the family's direction, and shutting down dissent when it threatened his authority. But standing in that courtroom with Meri, Christine, and Janelle's words still hanging in the air, Kody's usual confidence just wasn't there. He started off trying to project that familiar bravado, talky, ending fast, and gesturing wide, but it quickly became clear that the weight of the testimony against him was too much to brush aside. As the questions grew sharper and the evidence piled higher, his composure slipped. His voice cracked, his tone turned defensive, and his explanations sounded less like leadership and more like scrambling. It wasn't just the facts he was fighting against. It was the undeniable shift in power. For years, he had been the center of the Sister Wives story, the one who set the rules. But in this room, he was the one being forced to explain himself. You could see the frustration building, his face tightening, his hands moving faster, his words running into each other. Instead of clarity, what came out was anger. This anger wasn't new for fans. We'd seen glimpses of it in past episodes, like during the height of the COVID conflicts, when Kody's arguments with Janelle and Christine exposed how much the family dynamic had changed. But here in court, those cracks widened into full collapse. He contradicted himself. He snapped when pressed, and he even lashed out at. For those watching, the contrast was almost surreal. This was the same man who, in earlier seasons, spoke about building a united family under one roof. Now he was cornered, defensive, unable to defend the very actions that had torn that dream apart. Fans online described it as watching a mask come off, the public image Kody had worked so hard to maintain crumbling under the pressure of truth. It was painful, but it was also revealing. For many, this collapse confirmed what had been suspected for years, that the family wasn't destroyed by outside forces, but by choices made inside the marriage. And in this courtroom, Kody could no longer hide from that truth. When Robyn's turn finally came, The entire energy of the courtroom shifted. For years, fans have argued that Robyn was the favorite wife, the one who seemed to hold the most influence over Kody and the family's future. But in this moment, with the spotlight directly on her, the image of the quiet, emotional peacemaker began to crack. Questions about finances quickly took center stage, and suddenly, Robyn was no longer shielded by Kody's defenses. The scrutiny was sharp, and the details were hard to ignore. Meri, Christine, and Janelle had all pointed to the same issue: money flowing disproportionately toward Robyn's household, decisions being made that benefited her while leaving the others scrambling. Viewers of Sister Wives had suspected it for years, noticing the imbalance in screen time, resources, and attention. Now those suspicions were echoed in testimony. Robyn tried to respond with tears, her voice breaking as she insisted she never wanted special treatment. But the evidence laid before the court painted a different picture. The numbers didn't lie. Christine's earlier words about favoritism suddenly had more weight. She had described how heartbreaking it was to watch her children pushed aside, and now those statements were backed by Janelle's record showing financial discrepancies. Robyn's emotional reactions, once a powerful tool in family discussions, felt different here. Instead of softening the room, her tears drew sharper questions. Why were so many major financial decisions routed through her household? Why were promises made to Meri, Christine, and Janelle consistently left unfulfilled? For fans, this was one of the most jaw-dropping parts of the entire saga. On the show, Robyn often positioned herself as someone who wanted peace, someone caught in the middle. But in the courtroom, it was harder to maintain that narrative. The wives' testimonies painted her not as a neutral figure, but as someone who had directly benefited from the very imbalance that tore the family apart. Watching Robyn break down in real time was emotional. She wept. She defended herself. She insisted she had never asked for this. But with each answer, the gap between her words and the reality described by the other wives only seemed to grow. Fans online debated fiercely, some feeling sympathy for her pain, others pointing out how her household had clearly become the center of Kody's world. Either way, this was no longer a private family conflict. It was exposure, undeniable and public, and it left Robyn facing questions she could no longer avoid. Just when it seemed like the courtroom had reached its breaking point, a shocking twist unfolded. One that no one, not even Kody or Robyn, could have anticipated. As the judge prepared to move the proceedings forward, new evidence was introduced: an anonymous email, forwarded directly to the court and reportedly shared with federal authorities. Its contents hinted at far more than just family disputes. This wasn't about favoritism or emotional neglect anymore. It was about potential financial misconduct that caught the attention of the FBI. The email, allegedly sent by someone with inside knowledge, detailed questionable property transfers, secret accounts, and sudden cash movements that lined up suspiciously with the financial records Janelle had already presented. At first, there was silence in the courtroom, the kind of silence where you can feel the air being sucked out of the room. Then, all eyes turned to Kody and Robyn. Their faces told the story. Kody flushed red. Robyn's tears returned. And this is only the beginning of what could be a long road ahead. If the FBI digs deeper, if the financial trails are followed, then this family's secrets may reach headlines far outside the world of TLC. For now, though, fans are left with the image of a crumbling patriarch, a favored wife under fire, and 3 women who finally stood together and refused to be silenced. Hi, I'm Sophia, and this has been TLC's Sister Wives World. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Whose testimony shocked you the most? And do you believe the FBI will uncover even more about Kody and Robyn's dealings? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.